Right now, you are probably less than 20 miles away from a sovereign economic zone you aren't allowed to enter. It has no grand gates, no flashing lights. Just rows of identical gray concrete boxes stretching out into the horizon. Alongside a highway intersection you pass every single day, you look at it, and you see boredom, you see a corporate wasteland, where souls go to die in cubicles and trucks go to unload cardboard boxes. But you are looking at the wrong thing. Behind those tinted windows and manicured lawns lies a silent geopolitical web that controls the global supply chain and dictates exactly what you will buy tomorrow, how much you will pay for it, and who gets to keep the change. The people who own these lands don't care about the products being made inside them. They don't care about the tech startups, the biopharma labs, or the logistics giants leasing their spaces. They have figured out a way to tax the global economy without ever producing a single product. It is the ultimate invisible empire, hidden behind a manicured hedge fund and a generic corporate logo. But how did these boring slabs of concrete become the most aggressively fought-over real estate asset class on Earth? The answer begins with a secret meeting and a single zoning loophole in 1971 that quietly changed the rules of capitalism forever. By the end of this video, you will look at every industrial park, every suburban corporate campus, and every logistics hub completely differently. You will discover the hidden mechanics of how private equity giants use other people's money to monopolize these highway junctions, how they turn empty space into tech-level valuations, and why the world's most powerful tech billionaires are quietly dumping their software stocks to buy up these exact, boring concrete slabs. Most people look at a business park and think, that's just real estate. They bucket it with shopping malls or high-rise apartment complexes. That is mistake number one. Shopping malls are dying and office buildings are bleeding trillions of dollars because of remote work, but business parks, they are quietly undergoing the biggest boom in modern financial history, swelling into a multi-trillion-dollar global industry. Wall Street doesn't invest in things because they look pretty. They invest because of predictability. Think about it. A luxury apartment building requires constant maintenance. Tenants complain about broken pipes, leaking roofs, and scratched floors. The turnover is chaotic. A business park owner, they don't deal with people, they deal with corporations. When a multi-billion-dollar logistics company or a pharmaceutical giant leases a 300,000 square foot facility, they don't just sign a lease for a year. They sign for 15, 20, sometimes 30 years. They don't ask the landlord to fix a light bulb. They spend $50 million of their own money to customize the inside of the building. To the untrained eye, it's just a dead zone on the edge of the city. But to institutional investors like Blackstone or Brookfield, it is a low-risk, high-yield cash printer that is completely immune to the trends of the retail market. But there is a reason this entire system is kept intentionally boring and out of the public spotlight. Because if the average taxpayer realized how much money was flowing through these dull concrete complexes, they would realize who the true lords of the modern economy actually are. To understand where the billions come from, we have to lift the veil on who actually owns these invisible empires. It's rarely a local developer anymore. The modern business park is owned by an intricate web of offshore shell companies, real estate investment trusts, and massive sovereign wealth funds. They operate under an ownership model designed to completely detach the owner from any form of financial risk, while maximizing their control. Imagine a system where you buy a piece of land, force the tenants to build the infrastructure, and then use that infrastructure as collateral to borrow more money from the bank to buy the next piece of land. That is the foundation of the modern business park empire. When a developer acquires a massive plot of land near a major transport vein, they don't just build a warehouse and wait for someone to rent it. They go to Wall Street and sell the concept of a synchronized corporate ecosystem. They slice the land into microzones. They create a private municipality where they dictate the rules, the security, the utilities, and even the private transit systems. The entities inside this zone aren't just tenants, they are trapped citizens of a corporate microstate. And every time money moves within this microstate, the invisible landlord takes a cut. But rent is just the surface layer. The true genius of the revenue engine lies in a hidden mechanism that forces corporations to pay for the owner's wealth even when the economy is crashing. Let's look at how the cash actually flows. Because it's not as simple as writing a monthly rent check. The core of the business park revenue model is something called the triple net lease, or NNN. In a normal lease, if the roof leaks, the landlord pays for it. If property taxes go up, the landlord takes the hit. If insurance premiums skyrocket, it eats into the landlord's profit. Under a triple net lease, all of that is flipped. The corporate tenant agrees to pay a base rent, plus 100% of the real estate taxes, 100% of the building insurance, and 100% of all maintenance and operating costs. The landlord has zero operational expenses related to the building itself. If the cost of maintaining the facility doubles, the tenant absorbs it. The landlord's revenue stream remains entirely pure, predictable, and completely insulated from inflation. But it gets deeper. The real millions are made in the secondary revenue streams, the ones no one talks about. When a business park grows, it requires massive amounts of power, high-speed fiber optic data, and water. The developers don't just let local utility companies handle this. They build private substations and fiber networks. They buy electricity at wholesale prices and flip it to their data center and manufacturing tenants at a premium. They charge common area maintenance fees for the private roads, the landscaping, and the 24-hour paramilitary security teams patrolling the perimeter. You aren't just paying for the space inside the box. You are paying for the right to exist within the network, and if a company wants to leave, they can't. The cost of dismantling a $50 million automated sorting system or a cleanroom laboratory is so astronomically high that they are effectively held hostage by their own infrastructure, which brings us to the dark side of this business, the cost structure and the hidden liabilities that the public never sees. On paper, it looks like the perfect business. Low maintenance, high retention, predictable cash flow, but building an invisible empire requires a brutal and incredibly high-stakes financial dance. The initial capital costs are staggering. You aren't just buying land, you are engineering earth. A business park requires massive structural grading, reinforced concrete slabs that can withstand millions of pounds of constant vibrational pressure, and direct private access ramps to major highways. Getting approval for a new highway off-ramp can take years of political lobbying and cost tens of millions of dollars in bribes, legal fees, and environmental impact studies. And then there are the regulations. If a business park houses a chemical testing facility next to an e-commerce fulfillment center, the environmental liability is a ticking time bomb. One toxic leak, one contaminated water runoff into the local town's supply, and the entire asset valuation can be wiped out overnight by federal regulators. To manage this risk, owners don't hire standard property managers. They employ specialized risk management firms and corporate lawyers who do nothing but monitor zoning compliance and political shifts. The actual human staff on site is incredibly small. A 500-acre business park might only have a dozen human employees, mostly security guards and facility engineers monitoring sensors. But the real hidden expense isn't physical, it's financial. These empires are built on mountains of variable rate debt. Every square foot is leveraged to the hilt. If a major anchor tenant goes bankrupt, or if interest rates spike unexpectedly, the interest payments on the underlying debt can swallow the revenue engine whole. Yet, despite these terrifying hidden costs, these boring concrete hubs are consistently valued at billions of dollars. Why? Because of a psychological trick that turns dead dirt into digital gold. To understand the billion-dollar valuations, you have to understand how Wall Street calculates value. In residential real estate, value is based on comparable sales. If your neighbor sells their house for $1 million, your house is worth roughly $1 million. In commercial business parks, value is calculated using a metric called the capitalization rate or cap rate. It is purely based on the net operating income generated by the leases, divided by the asset's current market value. If a developer can increase the rental income of a business park by just $1 per square foot across a 5 million square foot portfolio,